Gatton, and this is my first in a series for Hot Licks videos for Arlen Roth. So, first thing we ought to do today is tune up, I reckon, so let's listen. I'm a little out. All right, I think the first thing we'll do today is I'll show you the different ways I know about playing harmonics. A method that I came up with some years back was kind of an accident while I was chicken picking doing this stuff. And I accidentally hit a whistler like so while I was doing that. So there's a way that you can pinch these little whistlers. I mean, they're all over the place if you did this. There, and you can pinch them with off the tip of this finger, like so. Get this little crosshatch thing going. As the pick goes down, the ball of the finger touching the string. And there's harmonics everywhere. I used that when I did Harlem Nocturne years ago. Like this. Naturally, they come out quite a bit better if you've got your amp turned up, which we can't do under these circumstances today. Another way of playing harmonics that I got from Lenny Breau. Actually, Lenny used a thumb pick and his fingers, whereas I had to put my pick between the thumb and the middle finger, using the tip of the first finger to get the harmonic at the 12th fret. helps to be 12 frets above where you're playing. If you use your little finger, you can play the harmonic, for instance, on the 3rd string. You can play the high note with your little finger on the open E string. And you get harmonies like Chet Atkins used to do. Like so. And you can do rolls with them, like... You would start by taking your little finger and playing the 4th string open. Harmonic on the 6th string at the 12th fret. So you're playing the 5th string, the 6th string, the 3rd, the 5th, the 2nd, 4th, 1st, and 3rd. So if you make a little chord like this, it's like a combination of an A major it's like a B minor on the bottom. I don't really know a whole lot about music theory because I'm an ear player. But if you play this chord in harmonics, it sounds like... And you can do little things like, you've heard everybody go... You can play that in harmonics, like... So in order to do that, you would play the 2nd string, 2nd fret, or actually 3rd string, 2nd fret, excuse me, play an A harmonic. Play a G note, a natural G note with your little finger. And pull it off to an F sharp. And you do the very same thing on the 2nd and the 4th string. So it's like A, G, and then F sharp. Then you move over to the D string and do it with E and D and D flat. So if you can lay around in bed in between your toes and watch this and go... And you can invent your own little ways of doing those things. Naturally, we have harmonics at the 5th and the 7th. You can play harmonics by slapping them. You've pretty much got to play chords where you can hit it straight across. Playing an A major, you want your first finger to assimilate the A major chord right there. It's pretty hard to get all 4 notes, but you can get 3 of them pretty good. Plus you can move it around. So you can play the harmonics like that too. Another thing that I like to do, being a tele player, is to use the volume and tone pots to get the steel effect. So it's very important to have a volume pot that has an extremely even gain. The one that I have in here isn't the best one I've ever used in my life, but it beats a blank while I'm looking for the magic pot in the guitar. As you notice, the gain, it's pretty even. Exactly the opposite. This pot goes from 0 to 3 and it's wide open. So like from 3 on up, it doesn't do anything at all. It's negligible what happens. The drawback of having this kind of a tone pot is that if you're playing a jazz gig, for instance, and you really are trying to find a nice jazz tone, very sensitive to the area where the tone's going to be. Another thing that you can do with the tone pot is to put it on, with this particular guitar with Barden pickups, which do make a big difference, is to put the thing on full bass. I'm going to get into this stuff later on in the tape and play organ backup things. Turn on the vibrato. Amp up loud, it'll overdrive it, and it'll pretty much sound like a B3 with a blown up driver in the Leslie, which is the cool sound for B3s. We'll get back into that in a minute. A thing that I had been showing some students over the years were different ways of playing an old fiddle tune called Sugarfoot Rag. I worked with Roger Miller off and on for 5 years, and I was fortunate enough to work with Thumbs Carlisle, who was the man that originally played guitar like in his lap, like Jeff Healey. Thumbs tuned to E flat major and played this way, used the thumb pick and all of his fingers, and we'd be sitting around in the dressing room out in Vegas, and Thumbs would be playing an Ovation guitar, one of Roger's, and he'd be sitting there. I hear something like this coming out. Well, first of all, the song sounds like this. I guess you ought to hear that first. Note, no charge for mistakes. But anyhow, Thumbs would do like this. About that is using major seventh chords as substitutes in spots. This particular chord here, I have no idea what the name of it is. I guess it's some sort of a major ninth. I use it in lieu of an A major chord. It's extremely useful. You can get a shot of that. Whoops. This chord would take the place kind of like this if you were playing the blues or playing something like the Bridge to Memphis. You do it with this chord to get a different voicing. So it's the A major chord, but it's got the third on the bottom. Plus, there's other little things you can do with your little finger to play around with, like... another chord that I love to use quite often. Besides that, it's kind of a magic chord I've looked for all my life. If we were playing something like tequila, like if we're going into... Well, it's cool to go from A to G like that, but sometimes it's neat to go from A to D. Well, I got to thinking, I like that D chord, I like that G chord. How am I going to get those two together? So I said, well, I'll try this, which is nothing more than a D chord with a G in the bass. So that's a neat little chord. All right, getting back to this Sugarfoot Rag thing, about using major seventh chords, for instance, as substitutes for majors. Like I was playing the top to the tune, I was going... That's a neat change. I could throw a D flat in the bottom of that. But that's an A flat major 7 chord, which you wouldn't think would work under these conditions, but it certainly does. Then I could use an F major 7. Picking thing like that. So whenever you have a song that's got a root note in the melody, as for instance this A note, try using a B flat major 7. Naturally it's not going to work in a hard rock tune, but if you're sitting around trying to impress your folks, it works. It worked at my house. Chord blues messing around here. When I went to the D chord, rather I was playing a D7 with an F sharp in the bass. So there again, it's another D chord with a third as the root, but it's still a 7th. And then I can add the A note to the bottom. But the point here is that I went to the F sharp major 7 instead of just staying on the D. You can use various inversions of it. And you can just use it like an F major 7 just like this, the obvious one. You can drop the third out of it. You can have a G in it. It's still an F major 7 change, but it's got a G in it, so now I guess it's some sort of an inside ninth. Really want to get weird, you can put a B flat in the bass like that. Basically today we're just going to work on the blues changes. I'm not going to really get into any really strange chord patterns other than to show you these substitutes that work over basic chords. Another thing I'll do if I'm playing just a little blues, let me mess around a second and I'll throw in some C major 7 and G major 7s. They'll go by pretty quick, but you'll see what's happening here. I'm not talking about doing it this way. Well, that has its place. A high G major, try it against A. So here we go. I'll sneak that in there too. There was your G major, your C major 7, your G major 7. I tuned it yesterday. I don't understand. Sounds like Misty kind of, but it's not. So, I've showed you this chord. That you can use. The major 7th. And back to the A. You can use a G 6th against A. In that inversion. You can use your G major 7 down here. Another thing is if you're playing an A, well, some of my pupils over the years have asked me, you know, like, where's all this stuff coming from? How do you play the outside thing without getting too bizarre? It's basically, to put it very bluntly from a kind of a non-educated musician like myself, self-taught, learned it all the hard way, is to play in the wrong key, basically. If you're playing A there again, you can play an E minor. I wish I had an accompanist right now so I could do that, but I'll see if I can keep some dead thumb going here. And I'll play in E minor. Minor scales almost become C major 7 scales. They're so close. And the tonic works really well against A. You can very easily turn into a C major 7 scale, like. Kind of a C major 7 scale. That will turn into a B minor. From the C major 7 to a B minor. There again, this is all against A. So there's the C major 7. Try that again. Into B minor now. Lick that I figured out some years back, just for the sake of making it easy on me right now. We'll pretend that we're playing something in E, for instance. This is a B minor, sort of a B minor lick. It goes like this. Where's that coming from? Okay. Years ago, when I was probably 12 or 13 years old, a fellow named Andy Nelson that works for Gibson took me aside at a music store where he was demonstrating some Gibson guitars, and this was in 1959 or 58 probably. He said, look here, kid, here's a good way to get from an E chord to an A chord, like this. It took me a long time to understand what he was drilling in in my head. It was taking the place of going B minor, E to A. So, knowing that little lick there, I said, well, if I'm playing an E, maybe I can make something out of that. That's going to be a B minor thing that won't resolve to A. So that's how this particular thing came about. Beginning, I just made it that instead. Neat little thing to do when you're playing minor chords. B minor right now. I've got a D flat in the middle. I've raised up the root of D to B flat. Nice little jazzy sounding you hit everything but home plate right there, you know what I mean? You just kind of stay away from the root. See, that's kind of what jazz is all about. You play all around it, but you never really hit the home base there, and that's what's cool about jazz. Another thing I was going to get into, reverting back to this Sugarfoot rag, I've kind of got away from what I started to do in the first place, was there's a way to play quarter notes and eighth notes at the same time. It's kind of the opposite of dead thumb. I mean, dead thumb being this, where you go, keep quarter notes going on the bass string while you play lead stuff. I'll do it in E, for instance. Notes, dead thumbs. Well, this is exactly the opposite, where you play eighth notes like this with the pick, eighth notes, up and down strokes. You do it slowly, and you play quarter notes with your little finger, like. These are eighth notes, or quarter notes. You don't have to just stay with your little finger. You can sit around the house and mess with this, and try it with the middle finger, and the rest of them all the way down to the little one, like. Finger. Add the little finger. You can get them all in there like. All right. Gosh, here's another little thing just to quickly do. Another thing friends have asked me is, how do you play these little Les Paul trills? Like you hear Les going. Well, basically, I thought they were clarinet licks, like Dixieland clarinet. That's what they sound like to me. I asked Les about that. He said, nope, that's not where they came from. But there's like, this is a good left-hand exercise and a good right-hand exercise, because your pick is going to be going just like roke for cheese, like riding a ride cymbal. You play drums. And it would start like this. pick this. This is just a hammer-on pull-off. You can add harmony to that just by playing two strings. This is pretty hard to do even at speed. That would be like an A position. You can play the harmony to it in a higher interval of this particular A. Yeah, we can take this thing and go up to a higher position like this. And you can throw in the G note also to get the seventh effect. Slowly, that would sound like. All right, now I'm going to get into some rockabilly. Other people like to know about that. So let me turn on the delay box. Get a little echo happening here. And I'll just play a little bit of rockabilly stuff and then talk about what it is and where it came from. Rockabilly done my way. I started out playing the old Ted Atkins, Scotty Moore style of this sort of thing, which I went into earlier, not on this tape, but on another one some years ago. Like. Let me turn the echo off and do that. Try to do that slowly. Basic Johnny Cash thing. Like if you don't have an echo and you want to play rockabilly without echo, you could double pick this stuff like this. Double pick that stuff. You can play octaves, the rockabilly way of playing octaves, like the old Johnny Burnett records had that. And the way you do that is to use, I use my fourth finger and the pick. That seems to be the most comfortable way to do it. If I try to use the middle finger, the spread appears to be a little bit too wide and it's uncomfortable. But this works good. And then I did a 4-octave jump from E's, 4E octave, and a forward roll like. When you get to A flat, then you jump onto something else because it doesn't work if you keep doing it that way. You hit a high note and play some blues with it. And there's this other little rockabilly trill thing like. Robert Gordon, Lance Quinn, the other guitar player, and myself used to do that in Twin. And he would be, that's like E, A, B. And the right hand is gone. So here's the original high version. Speed, it sounds like. You have to sneak into the first one. And then you can make that even more complicated by going. You can pull off on the things like. Fast, it sounds like this. Another old traditional rockabilly ending chord. In case y'all don't know that one. That would be the E version. Playing an A, you do it this way, like an A ninth. So you can go from E to A. You can play steel guitar 6. I know this may seem strange to jump around like this, but I'm just playing things off the top of my head that people usually ask me about. These steel guitar things, for instance, I mean, this is an E6, but it actually looks like a D-flat minor. So it's like thinking in the terms of what it looks like. It's like a D-flat minor, B minor, and this is probably an A9th, I would imagine. It's got a B in the bottom. So the way I explain this to my students is like there's the closed up chord, and there's the opened up chord with a fret in between each one. So you've got two closed ones, an open one, an open one, a closed one, an open one, another open one, closed, another closed, and then a sixth chord. So it sounds like, and you drag your pick backwards when you do that too. Like, could be a Ralph Mooney steel guitar kind of way. All right, now some instruction about how to use these echo devices. It's very important how you set the tempo on this. Like the thing I was doing a minute ago. You You want the thing to bounce like doonka-daka, doonka-daka. If I try to play something faster now, with that echo setting, it's not going to work very good. You don't want it to hit like that. You want it to follow you. Shouldn't use any more than one repeat unless you're doing something specialized for the effect of it. I think I'll play a little something right now. It's an old it's a banjo tune called Farewell Blues by Flatt and Scruggs, but I do it kind of in a Chet Atkins-isk. That's easy for me to say. Merle Travis, kind of, you like that, Arlen? What a pal. Yee-bee-ee-bee-bee-bee-bee. I enjoyed that. I hope you will. Let me change the setting on those rascals one more time. Make it quicker. Do something like Gene Vincent. Love, and that's the way Cliff Gallup did that. On this thing gives you a triple feel. Doddle it, doddle it, doddle it, doddle it. It's really good for playing boogie woogie that way. All right, I've reset the echo for another very slow delay. Albert Lee uses an echo like this. So basically, you can just be playing quarter notes. You put the echo on. If you're like me and you really don't like to sit around and practice much, if and when I do, every couple of years, I'll plug in this echo thing and set it like that, so I can sit around the house and just play like. Set it slowly like that. All right, let's turn it off. Now I'm going to get into something that I love to do, which is playing B3 organ type of backup behind sax players or singers when we're doing old shuffles. So in order to achieve the sound, first of all, I have to turn the amp up so it'll break up. Turn on the vibrato. Pickups on, tone knob completely off. Sounds kind of muddy like that, but if we were playing a shuffle tune of sorts, say, well, let me get into a shuffle here, and then I'll turn that thing on and show you what the backup would be like. That works. All right, let me show you what the chords are to be able to do this. There's an old song called 7-Eleven by the Gone All-Stars. God bless them. I don't even know who they were. Some old record that came out of Philly many years ago, I suppose. And that's what I was... It's similar to the tune I just did, which is called Rambunctious by Bill Doggett. But anyhow, it had this organ part, like if the key is E, for instance, if the chord is E, the basic way to do the organ thing, which you'll hear on old Bill Doggett records behind Honky Tonk and things like that, is like this. Which is a basic E chord, an A chord, a B minor chord, to A, to E. So that's the basic interval. Phrase it properly and leave a little hole in there for the vibrato to take effect. I'll do it without making it muddy. Just hear the vibrato just for a second in the hold. All right, another way of doing that interval is up here, using an E ninth. This is the thing that came off of 7-Eleven by the Gone All-Stars. This is the interval that organ player used. So it's like an E ninth chord, actually. I know the name of that one. So here's what you do. Fancy, you can add an F sharp to it. You can also use this chord that I showed you earlier. You can use a B minor to a D flat minor to a D major. This is all against E, and it sounds like this. You can use a D major against E, F sharp minor, so there's D major, E major, F sharp minor. This is like milestones. So you can use that in the shuffle. So if you get about 10 of your friends together and you got one guy going, and the next guy going, another guy going, guy going. You'll be so damn confused, you'll think there's an organ player in the room somewhere. All right, here's some other organ licks. You hear organ players going doing stuff like things there. So basically the way that would start, boy, this is kind of hard to explain, but it's like it's a pedal point. The reason they call that pedal point, meaning it retains an E root at all times. No matter what you do, you hang on to that E and move all around. No matter what you play, there's an E on the bottom. So if I leave the bottom out and I just go little interval like that, maybe E. that. Then you get into this thing where you start moving around. Playing E octaves there. Playing A flat the third, A, B flat, B. I particularly like the way they come back to the A and hold that against C. That just drives people crazy, like organ players who put a matchbook in the keys, holding down one note while they do all these other things. Guitar players, we can't do that unless you've got some sort of a gadget that will. I don't have anything but a guitar and a chord and an amplifier. So I got to do it the hard way. So I've got to do this trill thing. Right-hand damping is all important in this kind of stuff. I mean, you can damp with your left hand, you can damp with your right hand. Some things you have to do both at the same time, but like, I've got to kill that. If I just let it ring, it'll go, and it won't have the effect unless it's dampened. This is like mostly downstrokes. It starts out with up and down, but once it gets going, it's downstrokes. When it gets fast, then it goes to up and down. Oh, there's some of that stuff. One thing I forgot to tell you earlier when I was discussing harmonics, you have a cowbell built right into this instrument, whether you know it or not. And it's on the second string at high B. So if you're doing a Latin tune or something, you can play this little cowbell. Which is basically a harmonic. And you can play it off the fret a little bit. Good for percussive effect. All right, now we get on to the fun stuff. This is an Alka-Seltzer bottle. Usually I play slide in the studio with an Alka-Seltzer bottle. In the gigs, I use a beer bottle with beer in it. So when I start to shake it, the beer comes out and it's a good shtick, you know what I mean? So I used to be a steel player years ago. So I've more or less, knowing how to play slide that way, have applied it to guitar this way. This thing feels a little different than the beer bottle, but with standard tuning, I haven't got time to retune it, so I can play little western things. Right-hand damping technique is so important in this, you can't even do it. If you don't damp it, it just comes out. So you don't get the damping. Steel players play with finger picks and thumb picks, and constantly got the heel of the thumb laying on the bridge. So if I did it like... damping is going on both hands, basically, but not too much with the bottle. It's all this right-hand thing, like... Here's another thing. I don't know how many guys nowadays know much about playing West Montgomery type octaves. First of all, the best way to get the sound is to play it with your thumb. Take a little thing like this. Little lick like that. With the fifth on the bottom and the root on the top, meaning I've got a B on the bottom and an E on the top. Boy, that's really hard to explain all that kind of stuff without playing jazz guitar. Geez, you almost got to get a book to do that. But there are neat little chords you can use. Like I was playing in C there for a minute. I'll use like a C chord with the third drop down to D, to G rather. Thinking in terms of, here's a C chord, I'm looking at what I'm playing visually, more than really knowing what's going to come out. I think in pictures and colors, and sounds strange, but it works for me at least. So I'm thinking like C. Then I get down to there, and I'm thinking of a C chord like this. So I'm seeing all these lines here. Then I might get down there. Then I'm thinking G minor. All of a sudden I'm down to this C. So you have to practice your major scales in all the different positions. So like when you get up to here, above C, then you can start thinking in G minor terms. That's all against C. When you get up to here at the 12th fret, then you start thinking in terms of C as if it were down here at the 1st fret. And so on until you run out of frets. This is a neat little organ chord, little guitar chord there. Kenny Burrell uses this one a lot. If we're playing in C, doing some jazz. Let's see what that is. It works in C in that position. There it is with a C on the bottom. It also works well up in the C position itself. Some minor intervals, like for an A minor, for instance. I'll play Secret Love a little bit, and it's got some of these changes in it. started out with an A minor with that raised root like I talked about in the beginning of the tape. And the melody of the tune being a high C. This is the way I figure out chords. I'll start with an A minor chord, for instance, and I'll say, well, you know, that's pretty plain. Why don't I add a little something to it? So I'll add that to it, and then I'll know that the melody's up here. And all of a sudden, I've got myself a brand new chord, not knowing what it is and not really caring, to tell you the truth. That's like a suspended D. So this is like some inversion of a G. And then a G. Actually, C sharp major 7 when it should be a C, like a C6. So this is cooler. Then you throw an F sharp in the bottom. And all your friends will look at you and say, what the hell was that? Chord that comes to mind. It's good for train sound. Really comes in off the wall occasionally. Like if I was playing like a boogie in A, for instance. Like this, it's like a this is sort of an augment. I hope you all get the idea that you really don't have to go to music school to learn how to play. Wes Montgomery didn't read. I mean, it's nice if you can, if you know music theory, but it seems like the best players, my heroes, most of them didn't read. They play from the heart, and that's what it really takes. One other point I should like to stress is like the gauge of strings that I'm using. I'm on the Fender advisory board, so naturally I'm a Fender man all the way. Fender's just coming out with a Telecaster exactly like this one, a Danny Gatton model, 53 Kelly with Joe Barden pickups and these broadcaster-style knobs with a serious knurl on them. The toggle switch is bent over a little bit, so when you go to get to it, because the pots turn real easy. If the switch was straight up and down and you went for it, you would inadvertently turn that knob down, which you don't want, so that's bent over on purpose. It has these zirconium position markers, so that if you're playing on a stage where the overhead lighting's terrible, and I've been in that position one time too many, and that's why I put these things in here, you can always see because they stick out of the fingerboard a little bit and they will pick up light. They'll pick up a candle across the room and you'll always know where you are. Well, anyhow, the strings that I use are Fender Dynamax. You don't have to use Dynamax if you don't want to, but the gauges are 10 to 46, and I use a 15/3 because I feel like a 17 is just unbalanced for this set. Because for years I used Fender Rock and Roll regular 150s, and they were like 10, 13, 15, 26, which is the same as this. And they ended up with a 38 on the bottom. I forget what the A string was. But then when they came out with these, with a 36 and a 46, it's just a really nicely balanced set of strings. I use little jazz picks, little Fender jazz picks. Go down to your local music store and check out one of these Kellys, because they should be wonderful. I was hoping to have mine when I did this video, but as luck will have it, it'll show up Monday probably, and we're doing this on Sunday. Hey, I want to thank you all for tuning into this video. I certainly hope you get something out of it. I know I sure have. I've probably learned a few things today I didn't know myself. That's possible. Thank you all and goodbye. I'm going to play a little bit now.